Good morning. Welcome to Coffee Morning. My name's Adam Devali, aka Mental Health Warrior, and we are going to be talking about NLP. Ask me what it is, I have not got a clue. So I'm just as brain dead as everyone else. No, I'm all joking. But first, before I actually bring the guest on, or shall I say co-host, if you want to be a guest on Warrior TV, it doesn't matter who you are, we've all got a story. Pop us a message. You're more than welcome to. And also, if you're supporting what we do, because we're on a mission to breaking the stigma of both mental health and disability discrimination, please donate. This will really help what we're doing. So on that note, I'm going to be bringing the guests on. Morning.
Morning.
Good evening.
Good evening, Steve.
Meet you halfway, afternoon then.
Yeah, that'll work.
No.
Yeah, it's a bit like the Truman Show, isn't it?
Yeah.
How are we?
All good here.
Yeah, good, thank you. Very good.
Yeah, viewers, Steve's lying because he told me before Kerry came on he's knackered. He's wiped
Yeah.
out.
I'm knackered. I'm NLPing myself to feel that I'm not knackered in the moment. It's all good.
Oh my god.
It's
Right.
that whole mind over matter thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, since Steve knows everything about NLP, I'm going to ask you, Steve, what is NLP?
It's a bit of fun, mate, to be honest. It's a whole sculpture of things that all come together that have started. I'm trying to think, Kerry. I reckon all this process started in the 1930s. And then it's been an overlap of quite a few different people's works that have come together and were put together by Brandler and Ranger.
Two guys in I think it was the 1980s, finally kind of announced it, if you like, because I think that's when it became public knowledge, I suppose. It was a guy called Richard Bandler and another guy called John Grinder. They kind of did it between them. But there have been other people since then that have come up with other different techniques that encompass the whole NLP process, if you like. Or the whole idea of NLP in order to make them work. But for those that don't know what NLP is, it's neuro-linguistic. I'll start again. Neuro-linguistic programming. And neuro is obviously to do with the brain, the mind. In this instance, we refer to it as the unconscious mind or the subconscious mind, whichever you understand most of. Linguistic, it's the language that we use, the words that we use when we speak to other people, when we speak to ourselves. And programming is exactly what it says. It's much like you can program or reprogram a computer. If you think of the human brain, the unconscious mind, as our mainframe computer, it can be reprogrammed, because it's when we come into this world, when we're born, we don't know things like fear, anxiety. We're not taught about all of those. We don't know about the what ifs, and those things are all learned. So essentially, we are then, over our formative years, we are then programmed to believe certain things and have certain values and to speak in a certain way and to use certain language and all the rest of this, So everything that we know right now, we've learned from other people. and from having our own experiences. And just as we've learned those things, we can unlearn them. We can replace them with more. If something's not working out particularly well for us, if it's not useful for us, we can actually replace it with things that are useful, that are going to work for us. So that's essentially what NLP means and is. But it's also, like you were saying, Steve, you were NLPing yourself into not feeling tired.
Yeah, playing tricks on your own mind.
That's it. Yeah, it's a whole bunch of. It's essentially what we believe, but it's a whole bunch of techniques, really useful techniques that can really positively help other people, including ourselves.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
So obviously we've got a couple of comments. Kerry Duval live from above me. She said morning warriors, and then also Sharon Camello is here saying morning team.
Good morning, guys. Yeah.
No. So guys, Kerry, Sharon, if you've got any questions, because I know nothing about NLP, fire them away because Steve knows everything about it. So yeah.
But it is amazing how it, like, I do tend to use it more on myself than I do anywhere else. And that is a whole part of how I am able to reprogram what I do. I know I've mentioned it a lot in one of my groups where I was having a very poor run at work and it was getting me down and I didn't want to go. And then I was clearly setting an intention every night that the next day at work was going to be a great day. I was waking up in the morning. Today's going to be a great day at work. It's going to cruise through. And without fail, that worked for, well over a month, every day straight. Like, there was challenges, but because I'd wired in my brain and I was firing that way, the difficult parts seemed to just be able to be broken down and made small tasks that I knocked out quickly. And the rest of the day was just enjoyable. So it was a little simple process of tapping into that, not the unconscious side, so that without thinking about it, my brain was deciding that I was going to be having a good time. It's the same as they say, if you wake up in the morning and say today is going to be a shit day, you've just planted that seed and made it a reality that you're having a shit day because you've already told yourself. So you could walk up, you could find a winning lottery ticket on the ground, and because you decide it's a shit day, you're going to not see it and step straight over it because you've made that happen. You've made that your reality.
Yeah, absolutely. Kerry, we've already answered what NLP is. That's why she shouts at me for not turning up on time. She does. Yeah. But going a little bit off topic, Kerry, how does it feel to be back on Coffee Morning?
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm loving it.
Have you missed it?
I've missed it, to be fair. I have missed it. Yeah.
Yeah, originally, guys, Steve was supposed to host this, but he decided, I can't be bothered. He planted that seed.
Yeah, was this getting thrown under the bus? I didn't NLP that one, I tell you.
Yeah. But here's another thing you see, which is, again, is kind of part of NLP, isn't it? How do you respond to that? You have a choice. You have a choice as to how you respond to that. So,
that's true. I know how I'm going to respond. I'm going to make Adam suffer consistently for quite a long period of time. That's going to be a very measured, challenged response.
Brilliant.
I love you too. We're like this with Lucas sometimes, because obviously when he's in crisis, and I know nothing about NLP, but I think I've implemented it. Because when he's kicking off saying, "Oh, you're the worst," you don't love me and stuff like that, I'm like, "I love you," and he can't answer that. He can't respond.
Yeah.
So in a way, I've implemented it, haven't I?
You kind of have, yeah. You kind of have. It's an absolutely fascinating area. NLP is a fascinating area. There's kind of two short descriptions, I guess, that you could possibly use. I'm sorry about the dog barking. I expect the postman's walking down the road. So the first one is essentially it's the language that we use when we speak to others as well as ourselves. You know, it's what we tell ourselves. But it's also about modeling excellence. So, for example, I don't know, let's say we've got a golfer, yeah, and they want to be as good as they want to play as well as somebody like Tiger Woods, for example. And so what you would do then is that you would actually model Tiger Woods, but you would be finding out, you know, with a particular, if it's like a tee shot, for example, you know, you watch him, you speak to him, you ask questions about, you know, what's going through his mind as he's going through the motions, you know, from literally taking the ball out of the bag, the caddy, and putting it on the tee, and you know what he does with his club and what's going through his mind, what he's thinking, what his beliefs are, what he's visualizing, what's really important to him at that time, and watch his movements as well, because his physiology is going to be extremely important. And the whole point then is you get a whole list of things, his beliefs, his you know, his values, etc., that he implements at that particular moment in time. And obviously you watch him as he takes the tee shot, and you install all of those into yourself. Now, that sounds like a bit of a lengthy and complicated process, and it's actually not. When you know how to do it, it's actually not.
Yeah.
But that's essentially what it is. You know, it's all of that. Going back to the you know, the language that we use when we speak with others and when we speak to ourselves, that self-talk. You know, if we tell ourselves that I don't know, oh well, I'll never be able to achieve that, I'm not good enough. You know, you're telling yourself two things there. You're telling yourself that you'll never be able to achieve that, so you won't, and you're also telling yourself that you're not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So if you believe that you're not good enough, not only are you going to not achieve that one thing that you perhaps wanted to achieve, but you're going to go through life having that belief that you're not good enough, and therefore you will essentially be considered a non-achiever. I mean, you will achieve certain things, but you will only achieve those things that you believe that you can achieve, or that you're even worthy of achieving.
Yeah.
And this is where we start to experience issues as far as our mental health is concerned.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah, I was going to ask that. I'll say hi, Stephen. Hope you're well. What's like the connection between NLP and say someone who's in a mental health crisis? How do you implement that?
Steve, have you experienced that at all? Have you got it?
Well, this is another part where I've had to use it on myself, or not had to, but chosen to, because
Yes.
a lot of what Kerry has said, if the way you're talking to yourself, and not even just the words, but the tonality, because when you're talking badly to yourself, you're also dragged down your language. The words you use are much more subdued. There's no spark, no punchiness, whereas when you're wanting to work your way out of it, the language, it perks, and your words sort of go with it, your tone goes with it, and your posture goes with it. So it's not all just the way we talk, it's how we act and how we move and how we feel. So the whole physiology of everything encompasses the whole thing. So it's not just any one given part. And I think what I found really beneficial in my struggles was once I did start flipping the script a little and using better words to describe how I was feeling. Like I did a lot of silly things, and I buried myself into shame and guilt like day after day. And it was only changing that round to having a bit of acceptance and going, we all do silly things. We're all going to make mistakes. I own it. I'm taking responsibility and making sure that I'm in a place where I go, yeah, this has happened. Let's move on. That's a perfect chance to learn not to do. Don't do that again. And then just move it back into a space of, let's use this as a tool for when I'm feeling like this is going to happen next time. How can I make a couple of little tweaks on a conscious level where I know that I can make a decision that's going to be much more beneficial to what I'm doing moving forward? If that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah. So what's the difference when it comes to NLP from when you want to implement it, say, in schools to someone in the workplace when it comes to the topic bullying?
So, well, yeah.
I've got you there.
It's so right. The thing. So we're talking about a particular behaviour here that certain people can and do portray, and it's not about. It's not about judging the person, because the person is not their behaviour. With every behaviour, there is always a higher positive intention. Okay, so there's always a reason behind that behaviour. And so with NLP, we would go through a series of questions to find out, where that behaviour is coming from, and what that individual is wanting to achieve as a result of it, what they ultimately want to achieve as a result of it. And as I say, as hard as it may, as strange as it may sound, and as hard as it may be to accept, there is always a higher positive intention behind. I'm going to say most behaviours. I can't say every behaviour, because there are certain behaviours that are behaviours. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, just everything just froze for a second.
Yeah.
my screen went blank for a moment there. But certainly with most behaviours, there is a higher positive intention. There is essentially the person that's portraying that behaviour. There's a good reason for them to be doing it in their minds. Like, they believe that by doing this, they will achieve this. So essentially, behaviours can be changed. Once you know what that higher positive intention is, you can work with that. And obviously, then hopefully the individual that's perhaps behaving in a certain way and is realizing that it's not working for them, it's not helpful to them to behave in that way, but they don't really know how to stop behaving in that way. They don't really know what behavior to portray that would have a better result, would be well received. As a master NLP practitioner, I can work with people that want to change their behaviours, and it's not down to me to decide what behaviour they change it for. It's down to the individual to decide how they want to behave. But again, being that master practitioner and master coach, it's a case of asking the right questions, getting them to give me their answers, what's true and right for them, and finding out from them, guiding them and helping them to realise the behaviour that they would rather have. And then, of course, what we can do is we can reprogram that behaviour and install the better behaviour, their desired behaviour, for them to use from then on.
Absolutely, yeah. Sharon's put a two-part question. I think it's a good one. First part is, can you give some examples of types of NLP or some of the strategies, like choosing an issue like addiction what strategies would you use? Example, timeline therapy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Go on, Steve.
Like I'll just do a quick part on here because I've got to say timeline therapy is my ultimate all-time favorite part of NLP. I absolutely love it to death. It's where I see the most monumental, rapid changes in my clients, and the feedback I get from it's amazing. That's by far my most favorite thing for actually almost watching some negative beliefs, behaviors, patterns. You can almost watch them leave the body right before your own eyes. I know that sounds crazy and sounds weird, but I'm sure Kerry would agree. You can actually see something disappear from somebody in the actual moment right before your eyes.
Okay.
It's absolutely in their physiology, isn't it? And it's not just about how they're holding themselves at the time and those changes. It's even though they've generally got their eyes closed, you can see the change in the facial expression even. You know, it might be tiny change, but all of a sudden, you know, skin color, skin tone, that the works. They're breathing even, you know.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I know when I obviously couldn't see it with my eyes closed, but when I went through the process of going through my negative emotions, I'm pretty sure it was for anger. I felt it, but the lady who was doing it for me watched it, and she said it was dead set, like a bolt of lightning had come from my foot straight at my body through my shoulder, and you could actually see my body move as I felt the release of anger from its initial point, and it was just a shock jolt straight through my body. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, I was going to ask for the viewers that don't know, what is timeline therapy?
It is. I'm with Steve on this one. It has got to be my most favourite technique of all because it has. I mean, they all have really positive results, but this has got to be timeline has got to be the most profound, hasn't it? It's because you're dealing with significant emotional events. You know, it's. And the thing with it is the fact that it's not necessarily a significant emotional event that's happened in this lifetime. You know, I mean, whether you believe it or not, your unconscious mind will always give you the right answer. You know, I've experienced with people who have been absolute, complete non-believers of having past lives. And yet when you take them through the timeline process, you know, there've been occasions where it's been a past life, you know, before, during, or after birth.
But very often, I find more than 50% of the time it tends to be a past life from my experiences.
Yeah, so timeline therapy can work with, I don't know, trauma.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I need to try this. I need to try it.
For the simple reason that it is, for the most part, content free. You won't necessarily, when I say for the most part it's content free, you won't necessarily see what actually happened in that significant emotional event. If anything, it'll be something fairly symbolic, you know. But you will actually feel those feelings, but we can keep you at a safe distance so that they're not really, really overwhelming.
How about then? Obviously, we'll talk after this. How about we schedule you two to come live and you guide the viewers through timeline therapy, the steps of it?
We can talk people through it. We can explain the process. But each person is very individual, and that there are learnings to be taken from each event, and from the subsequent events as you come back to now along your timeline. You need to stop at each of those subsequent events and take the learnings from those as well. Right. So to do it en masse is not
maybe not impossible, but certainly extremely difficult and wouldn't work for everybody, I would say.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
It's much more. I'd prefer it as a one-on-one sort of thing, because then you've got to be devoting to that person. You can't sort of pluck a bit out of 6 different people or anything as you go along.
Right.
Because I don't know about you, Steve, but have you found with a few people that they find it very difficult to let go of certain negative emotions?
Yeah.
So then having to deal with the limiting decisions there, you see.
Yes, yeah, and especially too, if you're dealing with people who don't want to trust their subconscious and they're consciously trying to find answers during it, then you're going to have issues. You've just got to keep bringing them back until they just stop trying to think of the answer, because that's not where it is. Where you're not going to find it in here at the front part of your brain if it was 4 lifetimes ago. You've got to
exactly.
And just flow with what comes at you at the time. But the beauty of it too is, like, I was worried, like, obviously before I got into this and I did a bit of timeline therapy work, I was like, no, it won't work for me because I'm totally not visual. I don't see things, but it doesn't matter. You can be
try it with me.
You can be kinesthetic. You don't have to see things. No matter what you are, it will work for you on your plane of understanding and learning.
You can try it with me. I'm open to it.
We'll get you.
I've got trauma to get rid of, so yeah.
Beautiful. Well, that's trauma, anxiety, like the parameters of it are phenomenal. And I will say I have done timeline therapy for a group once, but it was quite simple because I was implanting a future goal. So that was that one was okay because it's the same for everybody. They're not having to give you feedback on what it is. You're just planting that in that future date for them. And that was okay. As far as I know, I can't remember if Auntie Shazza was on that one or not when I did it, but
Shazza, was she? If she's still
can't remember if she was there or not.
I don't know.
But that's about the only thing I've been able to do with it in multiple people's situation.
Yeah.
I don't know what to ask now.
You're just all excited. You're waiting to have some timeline therapy done. That's what it is. You've forgotten. Now your mind's gone blank. I don't know what to ask.
Yeah. It's very rare for my mind to go blank as well.
Don't worry. It happens to me all the time.
No comment. Yeah.
Oh, somebody else put a question up.
Yeah. Can you see it?
Any standard timeline therapy? I don't think it's so much about the questions, is it, Steve? It's very much about the client, where they are as far as where their significant emotional event is situated on their timeline, and the learnings that the client is actually taking from that.
I think that's the most important, is that, like, I know, like, I generally run off a script. I have my set out scripted quite clearly for me, but it's getting the feedback of their learnings and finding what they're actually needing to know moving forward. That's what makes it so powerful. It's not really, not like standard coaching where you're deliberately either chunking up, chunking down, trying to draw something out. Timeline's much more smooth. It's sort of an easier process.
Yeah, definitely.
So would you say it's more closed questions rather than open?
It's not even. I mean, it's not even questions. It's right. So it's essentially, without actually going through the entire script for you, essentially we are NLP practitioners, coaches. We are facilitators. We help and guide the client in the direction that they need to go in order to find the answers. The client finds the answers, The client finds those learnings, those lessons to take forward with them into the future. And we are literally there to facilitate that and guide them, as I said. So with timeline, we will guide instruct the client to go back to wherever that first significant emotional event occurred, for that particular negative emotion. And so it's then down to the client's unconscious mind to take them there, and then to say that they're there and know when they're there. So all we're going to ask, the only questions we're going to ask is literally, I don't even think we're asking questions so much, are we? We're instructing them.
Are you there? Like, are you at that? Are you at the first event? Like, it's not like anything super crazy deep. It's really
all right. Yeah, my question then, with timeline therapy, how long does it take from start to finish?
How long is a piece of string?
I knew you
it is entirely down to the client.
Yeah, I generally run just the negative emotions. I'll normally run over. It's a minimum of 2 sessions. A lot of the time, it goes into a third, and that's just five negative emotions.
Right. Okay. How many sessions does it take for, say, someone it is working with, for it to start saying, right, we see a change in you? Like,
again,
it can be immediate.
I'm asking inappropriate questions here, aren't I?
No, you're asking very valid questions, because people will want to know the answers to those.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and it's an individual thing. Because it's funny, like timeline therapy, it is bordering almost into a hypnotic kind of space. Like, it's, without being hypnosis, it is a bit of a parallel. And I know one thing a lot of people have said to me over the years is, are you going to do NLP on me? It's not a do-to process. We're not like voodoo doctors. We can't.
Are you sure?
Well, we probably could, but it wouldn't be ethical, and we don't. It's all done with. So, yeah, we're not there like reprogramming your brain and putting sneaky little subliminals in to make you cluck like a chicken when I go like that. And we can do that,
but we charge extra.
Yeah, come on, Steve. Come on, Steve. Don't give next week away, because Kerry's coming live talking about hypnotherapy.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I'm getting Kerry to jump on that one. You don't know yet.
Everyone's different. Everyone's totally different. If you try to presuppose how NLP is going to go with a client, you're doomed. You're absolutely doomed, because it's all entirely up to what they bring to the equation and how they are about it. Like, you can't have a successful NLP session with someone who's not in a space wanting to create positive change for themselves. If they're turning up just going, oh, this is just going to fix me, but they're really going, no, I don't really think so, then you're doomed to fail. It doesn't matter how good you are. If they don't want to make any differences in themselves, you can't physically force someone to change.
Encourage but not force.
Hey?
Encourage but no force.
That's it. As Steve said, the client has absolutely got to want to make those changes. And if they're not 100% there with it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, and as Steve said, it doesn't matter how good we are as coaches. You know,
absolutely.
It's there's. I mean, I want to go back to a question that Sharon asked a few minutes ago about like what strategies would you use for things like choosing an addiction. And, you know, I mean, timeline is very good for that, as is hypnosis. You know, hypnosis is very good for things like addictions. And I know people that have actually been to hypnotherapists for certain addictions, and literally within about 3 sessions, they're not cured necessarily, but they don't have that they don't have that need. You know, it's not a I must have anymore. And of course, depending on the type of addiction and depending what the outcome that is desired by the client, will again depend on how many sessions that the client needs to go through. Because it's all dependent on experiences. You know, our individual experiences are exactly that. They're individual. You know, what the way that we behave, the way that we think, the way that we believe is all down to every single experience that we've ever had, everything that we've been taught. And I mean, the unconscious mind is such a fascinating thing. It really is. Absolutely. I'm a bit of a geek with it, I'm afraid. I do like to go in quite deep. And we start. I know the other evening we were talking about reticular activating systems, weren't we?
Yes.
Kerry was mentioning about pens.
Right. We've got a comment. Our emotions warrior, Lisa. Essential oils to support addiction as well.
Essential oils are amazing in any area of life. To be perfectly honest with you, you know. They are exactly as the title suggests. They are essential.
Yeah. So when it comes to like timeline therapy and NLP, can you actually implement essential oils? Like recommend it? I could recommend using essential oils, but again, that's down to the individual. You see, I mean, I don't know enough about essential oils to know which ones would be the most advantageous or most beneficial to the individual. Again, you know, there are certain ones out there, like lavender is supposed to enhance relaxation, but there are others out there that can do similar things. You know, I mean, I have a particular favorite scent, but it's not necessarily. I love the smell of patchouli. I absolutely love it. You know, so I will have a patchouli incense going when I'm doing my meditation. And it helps me. There's a feel good factor for it for me, but then that's potentially because I used to use it many years ago, and I used it for a specific reason, and so it's instantly that smell. As far as my unconscious mind is concerned, that particular smell instantly links with that memory and that feeling. You know, it's like an anchor. It's not a physical one. It's an olfactory anchor, essentially. So, you know, but yeah, I mean, essential oils are exactly that. They are essential, and it's whatever works for the individual. Absolutely.
Yeah, which could be a good thing. Like if you know your client's into essential oils and you know that there's a particular thing that is relaxing for them and calming, it could be a good chance to introduce it into the room for them while they're going through the process to get out of their own head and ditch a bit of the conscious thought, just so it'll bring them back into a space and let them feel a lot more comfortable. Because I know a lot of people can freak out a little bit when you start something like timeline therapy and they're all like, well, voodoo, where am I going? What's going on? How am I going backwards? Like, so if it's going to soothe them and calm them and get them in a better headspace to get more out of it, then I'd say go for it.
Yeah, obviously some great comments here today. They really are. Now, obviously, I know it depends on the client itself, but what's the difference when it comes to timeline therapy and using NLP to someone like you and I and to a child?
So
because obviously people... it goes back to communication, don't you? Because you have to change your words when it comes to a child.
Their mind's not as messed up and filled with so much shit like the rest of ours. That can make it slightly easier. You're not trying to reprogram so much rubbish that's been beaten out of their perfectly formed young minds. It's all the older you get, the more junk that's been put in there that doesn't serve you. So sometimes it's a lot easier to work with youth than old.
Well, that's it, because we spend time, reading newspapers, listening to the news, watching the news on the television, being told all sorts of different bits and pieces. And, to be honest, the majority of it is fairly negative. It's years and years ago, I decided that I didn't want anything more to do with reading the news, watching the news, listening to, because it was full of doom and gloom. And why do I want doom and gloom in my life? I'm going to have it anyway at different points. That goes without saying. We all will. But why do I want to be listening to it constantly, day in, day out? And we've got to remember that up to about the age of 3, we are like sponges. We are literally absorbing everything around us. Yeah, we're taking in all of that information. But it's not really until about the age of 7 or 8 that we will actually start to question things, and we'll start to form our own beliefs. And then, of course, by the time we get to our teenage years, we're taking on values and beliefs of our heroes, our idols, whether they're pop stars or athletes, footballers, cricketers, who act, anybody. But generally, they will come. We will feel connected to these people because what their beliefs and their values will resonate with us. Mm-hmm. So again, that's why it's different for different individuals, dependent upon our own individual experiences. But certainly, as far as children is concerned, I've never been asked to perform timeline therapy on a child. I don't think I'd want to.
I haven't either.
No, I personally believe that it is very important how we speak to children and how we allow them to feel about themselves, to think about themselves. If we're responsible, we're responsible for guiding them in the best possible direction for them, not for us, for them. So I believe it's very important that they understand that obviously the difference between right and wrong, good and bad, good manners thrown in is a bonus. But, allowing them to believe, and rightly so, that they can achieve whatever they put their minds to. There's something that they really have an affinity with. They can do it. They absolutely can do it.
Yeah,
that's why I use it for kids. That's 100%. Being like my netball girls that I coach, they do cop a lot of NLP from me, a ton of it. And they're like all 13, 14, 15-year-olds. But it's all about entering games and trainings with a positive intent. We're not allowed to come to a game with negative thoughts. We can't be beaten before we cross the line. And it's a lot of, and week upon week, when you keep having these discussions with them, they buy into it. And like this season, unfortunately, it looks like we're not going to get to finish it thanks to lockdown again. But it's amazing. After about a month, I didn't have to do anything. They'd formed their own band of sisterhood together, and they were coming going, "We've got this, Steve. Yep, we are ready to pump today. We're just going to I'm like, yeah.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's just rubbing off. It's working nicely. And to watch it just blossom over time, like they don't all buy into it because they're kids, but you see it in the eyes when they do. The ones that do, they'll sort of really sharpen their focus and listen. And I'd come in and give them stories. Like I can't remember how, it was a while ago now, but just talking to them about a study that was done a long time ago now, but it was like went back to like I think it was one of the guys that was about to be in the baseball World Series, and they said to him, "Oh, what's the ideal outcome?" And he goes, "Well, obviously we go out, we win 4 games, and the title's ours. Or the worst thing that could happen would be It's game 7. I'm standing there and the ball gets hit to me and it just goes straight through my legs. It's exactly what happened in game 7 of the World Series. The ball was hit straight to him. I think it was in 1985. The ball went straight through his legs. They lost the World Series. And the same as Pistol Pete Maravich that was in the NBA. He said, I'd hate all of this to be some NBA superstar, have the best life, and then just drop dead of a heart attack at 40.
Blimey, yeah.
I don't even need to say what happened, do I? It's what you're putting out there can come back, and if it's a whole lot of not good stuff, don't be putting it out there at all.
Well, that's it. Thoughts do become things, don't they? It's,
100%.
and it is all kind of linked in with NLP. It's it's all about the energy, the vibration that we give off. As you said, thoughts. The interesting thing with the unconscious mind is it tends to not process negatives. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, I don't know. If you're about to go in and take an exam, for example, let's go back to being a teenager for a moment, and we're going in to take O levels, GCSEs, whatever, and all the while we've been told, that if you've got to hit a certain percentage to pass, otherwise you will fail. So instead of the young people going in and believing that they will pass, they are going in with the thoughts, I hope I don't fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got a negative in there. Don't fail. Don't fail. All the unconscious mind's going to listen to is fail. So instantly you've set yourself up for failure. If you go in with the thought that I'm going to pass this, I'm absolutely going to smash it, you might not come out with flying colours, but you will at least get that pass on that exam.
Sharon, to your question, who do you want? Do you want Kerry or do you want Steve? She wants a session with one of you, or if not both.
Give up nighttime chocolate. Oh, that's easily done. Easily done.
Kerry, do you want to try that with Matt and Kerry?
Bit of a like to dislike there, I think, Steve.
Sounds like it, doesn't it? I was going to say I can't really help with that one because hand up, I am still guilty of the odd nighttime chocolate here and there.
Kerry,
I must admit.
I don't know if my Kerry's still around. I ain't got a clue. If she is, please comment. Do you want to try that session with her then, giving up nighttime chocolate?
You've got to want to give it up. That's why I've never bothered playing yet. I'm still in the zone where it's okay at the moment.
Well, when I was going through my training and I went through the like to dislike, and I mean everybody was like giving up chocolate, and I'm thinking, no, I don't want to give up chocolate, not entirely.
Yeah.
So I chose a specific chocolate bar.
Okay,
that's a good idea.
Yeah. One that I was eating on a fairly regular basis at the time, and actually thoroughly enjoyed. And I haven't touched it since. I haven't touched one of those particular specific chocolate bars since.
How amazing is that? For something as simple as it's like, it's amazing.
If you think about it, if you do the maths though, chocolate's actually a vegetable.
Well, yeah.
I thought I'd throw it out there.
It's all the rest of the stuff that they add to it, though, isn't it? That's supposedly not particularly great.
Okay, look at Lisa's and Sharon's comments.
I do. Okay, I don't help
nighttime chocolate. I thought everyone did. I'm sure it's not all necessary, right? Sharon, I do. Okay, I don't. Help me.
I agree with Lisa. It's absolutely necessary. At times, we're all
everyone's
over it.
Different.
Yeah,
back to that.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, I'm just reading Sharon's last comment there. I do. Okay, I don't. Help me. We've got a bit of a parts thing going on as well, I think.
Yeah, yes.
Sharon, implement NLP on you. Come on. No help needed here,
Yeah.
Auntie Shazza. Hey, we're
At
all
least it's fine.
helping anyone.
Excellent.
Right. Great discussion. I thought we'd cut it short. I actually thought this would be short and sweet, but no. Well, good discussion. Now,
Yeah, to get us going.
Yeah. Yes, Steve, at times, night times.
All the time.
If there's any other questions, feel free to drop. And give it 60 seconds, and then, yeah.
I actually did read somewhere the other day that they think chocolate for breakfast might be very beneficial. I can't remember where I read it, who said it.
Oh, that's good then. Because I had a Yorkie bar at 9 o'clock this morning. Don't normally eat chocolate that early.
That's why you've dominated tonight, Kerry. You just did it right. You just set up the day perfectly.
I did. Yes.
Well, this is
absolutely.
our kids, though. This is what my Kerry's actually done. Twice a year, Easter and then Christmas, they're the only times where the kids wake up and instead of wanting breakfast, they go straight for the chocolate.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
They've been programmed to know that that's the time when it's acceptable and allowed.
I'm innocent there. I'm actually innocent. Chocolate for breakfast is the best. I guarantee right now, Kerry will be upstairs eating chocolate. She will.
Yeah, we've probably programmed that into everybody now. There's no one watching this that isn't somehow thinking of chocolate.
I'm not actually.
There you go, you see.
Don't think of chocolate, everyone.
Yeah.
Don't think of chocolate.
Reticular activating systems kicking in.
Right.
Yeah, don't eat chocolate. Eat chocolate.
No, Kerry's not eating chocolate.
Yet.
Oh.
Right, I'm going to end this.
It's that power of suggestion, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm going to end this. Obviously, Kerry will be back next week. You've got a whole week off. Lucky you. Steve will be back Wednesday. Yeah, when he'll be premiering his show with Tessa.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of Tessa, she's messaged me. I don't know why. But yeah, I'll be back tomorrow when I've got Michael Lauria as we tap into Forging Excalibur.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Hey, it's your 5 a.m., Steve. It's your 5 a.m.
Yeah, I'm going to work then, so I can't be on board, but that's all right. I'll catch up.
But yeah, all right, Kerry, we'll go shopping and get you chocolate. Okay. But either way, Robin will be. I think it's Bernie. I think so. I may be wrong. If not, she'll kill me. She's doing her own show tomorrow.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah, where she's bringing music to healthcare, obviously Warrior TV.
Fabulous.
So yeah, please tune into that. And also, guys, again, I'm going to stress this enough. People want to donate to us, feel free to. If you want to be a guest, get in touch. Steve's a mad ass, and yeah, Kerry just says it blunt. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Talk us up.
There we are.
There you go. Right. I'll see you all. Right. Oh,